Hey there, friends. Good news, bad news, not sure how you want to look at it, but the Uvalde School District Police Department has now, it appears, let go all of the previous officers who had been present and sat around and did nothing while the Uvalde children were murdered early this year. It would appear that they had hired one of the officers, and I will put her name up, Crimson Elizondo. The story came out earlier this week that the school district had hired her. And they had hired her to do what? They had hired her literally to be at the Uvalde school to protect children. Something that she proved she could not do a couple of months ago. There were 90-something DPS officers who were there that did nothing until coast was clear and everybody had pretty much perished inside the school, and then they decided to kind of go in there after a 77-minute wait of being fully armed and fully staffed. Now, Miss Elizondo, the reports were that she was one of 7 who were originally on the scene right away, immediately on the scene. When she exited her vehicle to go inside the school, she did not grab her long arm, she did not grab her AR-15, and she did not grab her body armor, her vest and all that good stuff. That's against protocol. It's against policy. So she violated policy by doing that. Now she'll probably, when she's reprimanded further, because she'll likely file a lawsuit now that she's been let go, but she'll likely state that she was not properly trained, and the reason why she did not go in there after the killer was because she didn't feel safe, because she didn't have her rifle or her body armor. That's going to most likely be her excuse. And again, she's going to fall back on the lack of training for that reason. Maybe it is lack of training. There was a lack of heart that most of us saw, if you will. So I think the lack of training is maybe secondary, if anything else, because this woman also made the comment, this is another reason why she was let go, because a lot of the parents heard of who she was. She's actually heard on video, I don't have a copy of the video or I'd share it, but she's heard on video stating something along the lines, and I'm paraphrasing here, that if my kid was one of those in the room, I would be in there right now. This was as she was on the premises. This was security camera video and audio that caught her stating that if one of my children was in there, I would go in after them. And again, I'm paraphrasing. That's not word for word what she said, but that's in context of what she stated. And of course, that word got out to a lot of the parents. And then the parents find out that this person was rehired in a different capacity, but to specifically protect children from any potential harm of any other shooter that might come in later on. Regarding that statement, the school district issued a statement saying, "We are deeply distressed by the information that was disclosed yesterday evening concerning one of our recently hired employees, Crimson Elizondo. We sincerely apologize to the victims' families and the greater Uvalde community for the pain that this revelation has caused. Ms. Elizondo's statement in the audio is not consistent with the district's expectations." My problem with this is that the district more than likely knew of those statements, because this is not all new stuff that's come out. It was only brought to light because when they hired her, so many people knew what she had already said. So it's very possible that the district already knew this. They definitely knew that she was one of the 7 DPS officers who was immediately on the scene and stood there for 77 minutes while these children and some of the teachers were gunned down. So they definitely knew that, yet they still hired her anyway. I'm curious if they asked her if she had received any additional training since that shooting where all the children were massacred, to see if she would react differently if another circumstance very similar to what had already happened again with her on the property. I'm curious if they felt like they could just give it another go, that maybe she would change the way she would do things again, or if they actually asked her, hey, do you see yourself handling in this situation a little bit differently than what you did in the past? My guess is they didn't do that. The problem with a lot of these types of positions is that in many cases, these types, and I don't know if this is a union office or not, but in many cases, these are union type offices where these people are operating out of. So they have so much protection that's not necessary, but it protects them from stupid things. So in many cases, because her being a woman, and it looks like she's a Hispanic woman based on her last name, that she probably had some protections, some token protections, if you will, that would apply to her. So she probably felt bulletproof, no pun intended, whenever she took this job, thinking, well, surely they're not going to do anything to me because I'm a woman and I'm a minority. Well, guess what? The parents spoke back, who are also minorities, and some of them probably were women, and they had their way. Glad this woman is gone. They also have let go a lot of the other people there. Now, none of this takes away from the very fact that these people are not responsible for what took place at Uvalde. They're only responsible for their not reacting and not saving people. In other words, nothing they could have done would have prevented this madman from going into that school and shooting at people. However, we don't know how many lives could have been saved had these people reacted properly. So two things wrong happened on that day. One, a criminal legally got a hold of a firearm, but illegally used that firearm. And two, people did not respond appropriately when it was their job to respond appropriately. So again, don't misunderstand that I'm taking the blame from one side and putting on the other. Two very bad things happened on that day. And both of those groups who are responsible for those very bad things should be held accountable for it.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America. He's so horrible.